Welcome to a conversation on Reengage. I think you'll be excited about what we have going, but you'll also maybe have moments of disappointment as the criteria is developed. I'm Jim Purcell, Commissioner for Higher Ed. We build policy. We're here to help you do the great things that you do. Sometimes I know that doesn't feel that way. So we have all experienced that, having been on a campus before. We will wait another minute. We have lots of people pondering to join. It's good to see all the different diverse types of people on there. Finance officers are here, financial aid, provost. We are just rocking and rolling a crowd today.
I muted them all, but they can unmute themselves if they want to speak.
Yes, we're muting you all, but in a little bit, if you have questions, we'll be glad to take questions and skirt them if they're not answerable. And hopefully you can take some humor throughout this process. We have 114 participants so far, still more coming. I would have worn my suit if I'd have known it was gonna be that many people. I would start, but everybody is clicking people in. So as soon as I pick up my mouse, somebody is clicking on my mouse. All right, so I'm going to try. We're going to share a screen. And are we right here? I think we are. Share. And just because y'all are lucky, you don't get to see the final answer until the end. All right, so everybody can see the screen, sort of someone stay online enough to nod your head. So this is a component of the All in Alabama initiative. And All in All Alabama is a statewide initiative to sort of address our workforce shortages. It has several components. The first is called Retain Alabama, which focuses on encouraging students to remain. Many of you have participated in that activity. Then we had Recall Alabama, which is to actually identify former graduates and get them to come back. And then finally, we have Reengage Alabama, which is the one that got the $4.5 million of funding. We're going to spend a lot of time on that. So I have more people. Okay.
Thanks.
All right, so we do have a web page about all this. If you want to see the exciting web page that sort of talks about our career opportunities and everything in the state, what we're trying to address. So this is a part of the whole experience, including this aid program. And another person, Alabama is calling. So the survey that we did on Retain Alabama basically got an idea of what percentage of students are wanting to stay. That initiative really targets the students who are neutral about coming to Alabama or are likely to stay, but they're sort of lukewarm. So that was the interest in that market. And then the most important thing that helps us with our conversation today is that most importantly, they want to find opportunities for jobs that they have in the state. So cost of living, potential for opportunities for promotion and all those kind of things. So that's what we're trying to build is an economy. So that Recall Alabama, we've actually went back and found people from out of state. We encourage them to come to the state. And this is sort of where most of our graduates wander off to. Atlanta takes a good chunk of them. And then some people still are in Mardi Gras from their spring break. And then we have Reengage Alabama, which is we're here. This is what we're going to talk about today. Is everybody happy? All right, so this was established in Senate Bill 175, and it had two functions. Establish Reengage Alabama Grant Program, and those are the things: adults with college and credit to return, increase the number of Alabama adults with a college degree, provide grant award payments to eligible students, provide eligibility standards, and provide resources for administration, which is about 5% of that 4.5 million. It also, at the end of the session, there was a second section added to establish a short-term credential program, because really in Alabama, in our workplace, we have a shortage of credentialed students, sort of the high skill, high demand areas. And we also have a need for just regular jobs that may not require long-term credentials. So they've established a short-term credential program with that. Now, with this particular initiative, that's where the 4.5 million is to be spent. And then on this program, it establishes the fund, a process for funding it, and the dollars amount are to be determined, and there's several revenue opportunities that they can get the money. So we won't discuss that today, because I don't know if they figured that out yet. The next one is to discuss requirements for college universities to participate. State-supported, private, nonprofit colleges and universities, that's in the bill. They have to be SACS, COC, or Council on Occupational Education institution. They have to be eligible to receive Title IV federal aid, and they have to have their primary headquarters in Alabama. Now, between when that bill was passed, I got a letter, and you'll sort of see that letter in microscopic stuff here. It's like what they call a Dear Colleague letter. And it said that the federal government has concluded, don't worry, I have people here. Somebody moved that for me. Thank you. All right, so this is the State Department of Education from the federal government, that some states have different rules where we give preference to regional accrediting institutions or whatever, which we do in many, many bills. In Alabama, it says that in order to qualify for aid or whatever from the state, you have to be regionally accredited. But they said that's not really good. We, as a federal government, believe that all accrediting agencies are the same. Okay. Well, so at some point there was a discussion about whether that would change this bill, because it was indicated in the bill that it would be for regionally accredited institutions. And I did ask the legislature. They determined that they are not going to adhere to the federal government's criteria, that any accrediting agency is any accrediting agency. And then I also had the Education Commission of the States that does research for higher ed do a survey, and it does look like there's only 3 or 4 states that actually did say that one accrediting agency is equal to another. So at this point, only if you are SAC, CRC, or Council on Occupational Education accredited are you eligible to participate. So we have in the bill what an approved institution is what I just said. And here they are. Everybody that's on this list is an approved institution. Congratulations. Now, if you are not thinking you're listed, or you have a question about that, you can certainly let us know, either in the chat or like in an email later. But this is based on our looking you guys up. This is what we found. So then the question is, what is an authorized institution? All right, wait a minute, come on. All right, I want to talk about, we're clicking people in as we do. An approved institution is one that has signed an authorized institution is one that is an approved institution that files that agreement with AIC indicating that you will comply with all our rules and procedures that we provide you. So it's sort of the arbitrary and capricious rules that we put together, which I will show you all the detail today, how we come up with the rules, some of which takes a lot of staff work. So what is an eligible student? All right, it is an Alabama resident. And that is how we will determine whether they are a resident. You sort of see the three things that they have to have. We have different scholarships that have different rules. And in this one is the rule that they have to have a driver's license or a valid ID kind of thing. They have to be 25 years of age or older at the time of their current enrollment. Now here's a tricky part. They have to have been out 2 years prior to current enrollment, but it doesn't mean that when you're looking at them that they are not enrolled. They just have to have been out 2 years prior to when they're currently enrolled. Does that make sense?
So we are talking.
All right, has completed a FAFSA. So they have to complete a FAFSA. You do not have to take the grant, you do not have to take a student loan. They have to fill out a FAFSA. And they will be pursuing, go ahead. They will be pursuing their first associate or baccalaureate degree, and they can only pursue their first degree, but they can have earned a certificate prior. As you know, there was only 4.5 million, so some of the rules that are written in law is designed to make this population we're serving small. So they have had to earn 36 credit hours toward an associate degree or 72 hours toward a baccalaureate degree. This is in line with a lot of adult degree programs across the country, specifically Oklahoma, which is where some of the wording for this was based upon. Has been accepted, admitted, or enrolled in an approved program. Now you may ask, well, what if our program doesn't have a pure admission standard? Well, you will have to somehow indicate to us that they are actually accepted or approved. They have to maintain that they are enrolled in 6 hours or more per semester. This is important because, you know, as adults, we have children. Sometimes we have children have health needs, or they're problem children, or we got to work, or we have other schedules. We got all things going on. But as long as they maintain continuous enrollment, basically fall and springs, and have at least 6 hours or more per semester, they can do that. Now they can roll in the summer, they can keep going, and we'll talk about how the money works in a minute. They are in good academic standing. They enroll in courses that directly lead to a degree identified in alignment with the job on the ACCCP list of higher demand programs. So the ACCCP is an entity that looks at the Department of Labor job list and determines what the high demand, high wage programs are. Here are the amounts. If you take 12 hours or more, you will get $1,500 in addition to whatever your other stuff is for students pursuing an associate, and $3,000 for a bachelor's. For part-time students, it's prorated, so you have to come at least 6 hours. So basically, we are it's the $125 a credit hour for associate per semester, and it's $250 for a bachelor's. So it's prorated for quarter terms. There's a couple of our universities on the private side that are on quarters, and we have all that worked out. Yeah, this is an important one. If you are a student, you get a grant at a particular institution, do not transfer. because we're going to be awarding this money based on the institution that you are currently enrolled at. So the determination of where that money travels in this grant is determined on the students at your institution. So this one is by dang nabbit.
I got 120 bachelor. That's the part I got. Yeah.
So then you have
Need to take the picture.
occupations and their programs. So it has to be a career that requires an associate or a bachelor's identified within the upper quartile based on the high demand, high wage calculation. And then program CIPs were aligned with the ACCC demand job list. Program CIPs offered at the institutions were identified, and graduate counts of the CIPs were collected to make a production and cost projections for each of the institutions. We will show you all this in detail. You only have to watch this once, but be glad to answer questions if you have them. This is sort of how we have to do things. So there's an Alabama demand occupations, and it lists and it goes through all the jobs, how many kind of things they need, what kind of work keys, kind of stuff they have. There's a whole big long list, and it goes on and on and on, and it's by the type of work it is. And so we sorted it by a couple of factors. So that's where that original list comes from. And then we had to determine which ones were high demand, high wage. So we looked at the upper quartile of jobs requiring an associate or baccalaureate degree with these categories. You'll notice several categories that are colorized. This is in the ACCC list. So this is actual the job. This is the type of degree, whether it's a bachelor's or associate, what the employment numbers were in 2020, how many openings they have, and then we have a quartile rank. So if you are very high ranked, you get a weight of a 4. And so for every quartile, you get a weight of 4, 3, 2, 1. And the same thing on salary. If you have a very high salary, you would be on the get a weight of 4. We add these two categories together and we get the openings plus salary number, which is how we determine which of the high demand, high wage programs that we would be authorized to fund in this grant for this year. This would change over time as the data from the ACCC and our economy changes over time. So the list you see now on the page is the majors and the degree level for the programs that we will be funding this year. Okay. Any questions at this point? Okay, so I have more math. Don't worry, you can ask questions at the end if you want. Then we had to find the CIPs that are directly correlated to the jobs that are out there in the universe. And this is from the federal CIP list, and it lists all the CIPs that were in our programs that we decided jobs that are available in Alabama that are high demand, high wage. Then we tried to match it up to your institution. So if you're Alabama A&M, you have instructional managers at the associate and bachelor's, and this is your CIP. You know, Auburn has one, and you can sort of see at every institution, we've identified those. And I have that for every entity. You'll probably want a copy of this PowerPoint. Here are the two-year institutions, the same thing. And then this is for the private institutions in the state and which ones have a major in there. So there are institutions that may end up with not having a major. If you are one that is not offering a high demand, high wage major, this may not be a scholarship fund for you. So then we had to determine how we're going to distribute the 4.5 million. So we had 52 qualifying institutions, 41 offered CIPs that we could develop to distribute the funds. So this is what we did. The allocation is based on the proportional share of Alabama resident graduates in the approved programs divided by available funds. So looking at your degree level production since 2015 for the majors, we determined what that ratio was for you as an institution. And the one caveat here is you may end up, as you know, we're doing math here. You have to earn or have enough of a calculation to actually have one person to be fully funded. So that's what that star is. Develop a funding per institution for which the calculation yields ample funding for students to complete a degree in one of the qualifying programs. Now, this is important. What we're going to be doing is when you identify a student, and a lot of it is up to you to identify these students, we are going to, at our office, hold that money for that student to help them finish a degree. And this is important since the $4.5 million is a year-to-year allocation from the legislature. And, you know, by weird happenstance, they could cut. And so what we're going to do is we're going to fully fund a person we award this year with this year's money for the next period of time. So basically the funding will be distributed at 74% split between associate and baccalaureates based on the average count of in-state graduates since 2015. Of course, the baccalaureate cost is a slightly higher award as prescribed in the bill. It will produce, we believe, 350 associates and 252 baccalaureate associates available to the students in year one. So now we had to determine current in-state baccalaureate degree production. And we sort of calculated all that in these majors. You sort of see we did that. So we ended up with 6,366 bachelor's degrees and in-state associate production, 2,200 associate degrees. So we get 88,566 total degrees. And based on that, we have determined the following. This is the big answer. How many average graduates you produce. So there's the projected graduates of the 4-year programs. There's the 2-year programs. And then how we did it all. You can get all the details on all this, which will drive you crazy. So we actually have a list of potential students that you may want to get from us that we calculated from our database, which isn't that robust, but it has some information that you as a financial aid officer or a business office or academic office may not have. So we can identify adults that are in those majors already that look like they stopped out for 2 years that may be eligible for this for some of your schools. And with that, you would be able to contact Stephanie. Now, Stephanie, let us go back to this chart right here. Is this the, where is the number that they'll get?
That's the number of students.
This will be the number of students.
That's based on, so what that number is based upon is if you had a student who, take for example here for the associate level, needed to have 24 more hours, the full capacity of what's needed to earn that degree, we have the availability to fund 29 slots for Bevel State, for example. You could, at an institution though, would have multiple more people to acquire or to use that funding than just 29, because not everyone will need a full slot of hours.
Right, so we're going to distribute based on this projected graduates that we believe that you can provide scholarship opportunities to, but not everyone needs the full freight of the credit hours, you know, between the 72 and the 120 hours. So you may be able to have a few more. And of course, if you're a bigger institution, you're going to have more slots. If you're an institution that is heavy into like healthcare and nursing, you'll have a lot of slots. If you are an institution that doesn't have a lot of these high demand programs, you have lower numbers. You may produce some graduates, but if you don't have enough that at least fund one person, you don't get any money at this point. Now, if any of you have followed this all the way enough, I'm going to go to the 4 years. There is a little leftover money that we're leaving at the office for right now, just in case you all have some compelling interest that says, hey, you know, I've got this, this, and this. But that is based on our calculations of what your current degree production is, your capacity based on your size. And with that, I'll open it up for questions. And it is a lot to take in, but that's sort of what we do. And I'm going to stop sharing and see what you think.
This is the last dollar grant.
I will give you a jar opener, an 8 jar opener if you ask. This is a last dollar scholarship, is it not? No, it's not a last dollar scholarship.
No, this is.
It is not a last dollar. You just get the money.
As far as timing, do we have to have, I'm guessing, a confirmed registration of enrollment? And then what would be next? Notifying who of the number of enrollments or number of slots filled? And then in terms of payment, so that students don't have holds placed on their accounts. I'm just thinking about how logistically will the transfer of funds take place?
Yeah, so you'll have to do the holds like we do. You know, we make y'all starve for several months before we pay you. That's just a part of it. We get our checks in quarterly basis. I will say that right now, this year, we actually have all the money for this initiative. It came in as a supplemental. So we actually have it in a small bank in Nicaragua right now. We will bring it back to the country when we need it. It is a good question because this can only come into effect until January because we have to go through rulemaking. So there'll be this long drawn out piece of papers, you know, probably 25 pages that's going to go into all the details, almost like what I sent today, except it won't have all the statistics. It'll just be paragraph after paragraph of how this works. And then we have to present it to our board. There's a so many period day time for them to do it, to get public comment. Public comments come back in, then our board has to vote on it again, and that will not occur until December. So the earliest that this can be implemented is in January, but I do believe it is time for us to start rounding up potential recipients for this. Now, we're in the process of developing the rules, and well, we've got the rules pretty much done, but the paperwork, and you'll see that first iteration of the paperwork in September at our September board meeting. And it'll be very common to the other financial aid stuff we do. We try not to, we do search and replace wherever we can. There are slight nuances based on the individual legislative proclivities to have different things in bills. So we would apply all that. Yes, and so the institution will be making that determination. Of course, we will look over your shoulder to make sure you are right. And then, you know, in the first year, a lot of hand holdings will be there. But generally speaking, if they're in that major, they've been approved in that major, they've been out 2 years, or 25 years of age, then they are a recipient. And with every new program, we have this moment of what did they build? That is just a part of happening when you build something new and exciting. And then you have to compromise based on available funds, the political world, As you know, originally this was a project originally for the universities to be nice to adults to get them back into college, and that the financial aid part was a piece of it. That would have been nice. We felt politically we needed to definitely involve the community colleges because really a lot of the workforce shortages were there. We had legislators that wanted to make sure that it was targeted toward the most biggest needs in the state for workforce. That's why that in there. And then the rest of it is doing what we have to do is put this in place. So we have a couple questions in the chat. Could it be funded based on a student's past due balance? It cannot. So let's say that if a student shows up, they have to be in good standing with the university. And I would, I know that has to be mostly academic, but that person, you may have to address their past due balance before you help them go forward. Now, we may not know that, but that's what I would recommend. Will you be penalized if we can't identify enough recipients? That's a good question. Yes, we will. We're not going to send you the money until you identify as a human. So we could redirect those funds to an institution that is serves a lot more high demand, low income students or more adults that are returning, because some institutions do that more as a part of their DNA than others. And so that's why there is that potential. Now, we have to work through when we do that and pull that back. But most importantly, to have an initiative like this happen to serve adults, we need to actually have lots of people get this award to show that there is demand for this type of initiative, and we need to have success. So the good news is these guys are most likely more than halfway through their academic program, and they should graduate very quickly. And we should be able to tell the legislature within a year and a half or so that this initiative did produce graduates, and it produced graduates in what the state is needing right now. So to me, this is an exciting opportunity for all of us to show that higher education is listening. We're involved in addressing the needs of the economy, and we have a solution, which is not only just funding, but the interventions that you all do for adults on your campuses. Well, be glad to take any other questions. If y'all want me to start over, I can.
I have one, anticipate for the institutions about the agreements to become an approved institution. I
Yes.
know that those are gonna be described in the rules that are coming forward, but presumably they have to have agreed before the rules are finalized in December.
Yes.
When
So,
Will that start?
yeah, when we go to the September board meeting, which will be in Jacksonville State University this September, if you want to be in person or you could Zoom in, that'll be the first introduction to our board of the law, what our administrative policies will be, and just basically this overview that you just saw, so that they can vote in affirmative for this. And then by that time, our staff will have pretty much all the paperwork ready. You will know in the rules what kind of things you will have to have and what you'll have to sign for. It basically will say the institution has to agree to do the following things: basically timely reports, meet the deadlines, be amenable to having us to look over your shoulder and do audits, make sure we're appropriately associating those things. So there's a lot of those things in there. And then
And
somebody
what
has
about, institutions who aren't projected to have any slots available. Will they need
Yes,
to sign agreements or just the ones who are
Yeah, so-
projected?
Now, a lot of you, especially if you're in a financial aid office, you may say, oh, this is just for 3 people. It's going to be a very pain to do this. It is up to you to agree to do this. And you have to determine whether it's worth the effort. We want you to take care of adults. We believe that is going to be the new market as we are losing about 1,000 high school seniors every year. So at some point in our lives, we're going to have to think about how to fund adults and help them. But right now, the only revenue stream we have for that is this, plus the standard need-based aid program, which is minimally funded in the state. If you need someone to present later, I do small weddings, funerals, other events. Be glad to bring this on the road, at least by Zoom, to work with your staff to get a better understanding. If not me, maybe other staff. But there is a lot of detail to this because everybody wants to know, how did you figure out the calculations? How did you figure out us or not? We have all that. It was done very thoughtfully and in a neutral position. We work for all of you and do our best to be fair and ecumenical in every way. Yes, the question about how we know if a transfer student has already received engagement funds. We would probably have to check that when it gets to us. We would have a list and that could be a cross-check. We may put on their form too, whether they received re-engaged funds in another major or another institution also. So that's a good way for us to address it and double check it. We will have lots of details on this. The first time around is difficult. The second time around is still kind of difficult, but eventually we're all getting put into our brains how this all works. We have friendly, happy staff that'll be glad to help you. And if you have a real big problem, you come chat with me. It's like going to the principal's office, like we all had to when we were kids. Y'all all look like mean 8th graders to me. I got whooped 48 times or 45 times in the 8th grade. So, but it straightened me out. I went on to college. How does cost of attendance play into these funds? Well, yes, as you know, there's a rule that's not our rule that says you can't give somebody more than what it is to be fully cost of attendance. No one can live the great life of Riley unless it's independently funded. So yes, there are other rules that apply to these things. One way to do this too is, what if you have a kid that's in a nursing program? Nursing has a robust statewide nursing scholarship program, and you look at a bunch of students that may qualify, and you may want to say, well, this student only has their stuff covered to these other funds, and then you can use those funds for another student, but it still has to be a student within a high demand, high wage field that's designated as being at your campus. Yes, we are recording this session. All the jokes are free. All right, with that, we'll take another minute for questions, and then otherwise we will, yeah, all right. What if, well, students have to pay their funds back if they change their major to a low demand field. They will not have to pay back what they've already spent, but they won't get anything else. We will, they will not get that money back. I mean, they will not get additional funds. So every semester, you're going to have to make sure these people are in the right major. They're doing what you want them to do. As you know, the financial aid office is the most indicted office in higher education. So those guys do a pretty good job of trying to be unindicted. So they'll know how to follow a lot of these rules, but they may be pushing that. There is no GPA requirement. Is it?
I think good standing.
Yeah, it's good to be in good standing at your institution. We understand that these folks they got a day job, they got kids, they had a life before all this happened, they are highly motivated. We do know from the data that adults that do come back that are adequately financially supported will complete their degree fairly fast, and they will stay in the state because life happened. They have commitments here, they have family, they have kids, they got kids in events, they got husbands that are gainfully employed, maybe nearby, and maybe they have a house or living in their mama's basement, whatever happens when you get out of college. So that's what we're hoping to do, is get these guys back in college and continually going. Yes, your question about good standing and federal satisfactory academic progress. We'll have to have a financial aid person answer that.
I believe they have to.
It's not a hard question, I just don't know the answer. This is the question about the marketing. We certainly have a webpage. It'll say we have this initiative, and it's kind of blingy at the upper level. We aren't necessarily, we can provide you a fact sheet or something. We might put a little bit.
We have a logo.
We have a logo. We can help you with what to put in the thing. But because each institution is unique, you're going to show, hey, we have nursing, and these programs qualify. And then we have engineering, but not all engineering programs qualify. Aerospace, is not in the list. Other engineerings are. So you'd have to be rather specific in your list to make that happen. But we can give you enough materials to make you dangerous. We just don't want to give you something that is inaccurate for your institution. Is it possible to increase in your future allotment? Yes, I mean, we'll be tracking the degree production over time. And the way we did that was we looked at degree production because we're really looking at capacity to graduate people. We felt that was a solid measure for that. As you increase, those numbers will increase. And then, certainly as we become, we solve the nursing crisis, which hasn't been solved since I've worked in higher ed. But if we solved it, we would stop funding it. Those students that are in the pipeline will still be funded. But then the next year we would have an allocation. We would say the nursing, we have addressed the nursing shortage. And if artificial intelligence takes over programming for all the computer scientists, maybe one day computer program will be off, but until the computer programmers write the artificial intelligence that's going to take our jobs, they'll still be in demand for right now. Yeah, the big question about whether our list is the definitive list for your graduates, we're like Big Brother. We only look at numbers. So we know who that person is that looks like they meet that standard, but you may know something else about them. So yeah, if you find somebody else that meets those criteria and you can prove it to us, certainly count them. This is a teamwork. Yes, the lady, yes. We have a question about the financial aid. We'll work on that question about the SAP kind of thing. It's a good question. That's why y'all are here today, to make us look like we didn't know everything we thought we knew. Which is okay. That's why I have you guys, all 126 of you, to help us work this out. All right, if you have conversations you want to have on the side, Stephanie has a good ear. She will listen to things. If she identifies something that we as a collective have to banter about, we may involve you if you want to be involved, or we may answer the question ourselves. But we're glad to help you. We're here to help everybody with the American Dream when they need the help the most. I hope you have been informed today and have figured out where you're going to be in this initiative to get more adults to finish and to address the workforce needs in the state.